join, but maybe we can start. Ah, yeah, voila. Rainer, we don't hear you. Okay, good.
I am here. Hello.
Okay, so we are 42. So thanks for your interest in this session. And yeah, Rainer, here there is the structure. Do you prefer I go to this or you
That's
go?
fine. Yeah, very good. So, is everybody ready? How many people do we have right now in the room? Just to say that. How many? 42. Very good. Okay, so it's really not so easy to not to talk physically in front of you, the dear audience. My name is Rainer Bacher. I am well. We have we are part of the core team, and we are splitting now our roles in moderating this session. Let me just make clear: we are not. We need you. ETIP SNET needs the experts which are invited here, but it also needs you in the audience, and let's try to make some interaction also with you. We have planned in the next 1 hour and 15 minutes, 5 parts. Let's see if we structure it like that. I want to introduce it very briefly in part 1. In part 2, I want to give you some background, very brief background information. Part 3, we have 6 great projects in this session. I will introduce you to them. They will make a so-called 99-second presentation with very short questions, and then we will talk in 2 parts about the issue of digitalization. And I just want to emphasize, and I did that already a little bit before, or I tried, we want to differentiate a little bit between use cases of digitalization technologies and in part 5, the what do we need to research in terms of digitalization technologies. So where do we want to end up? That's the use case with digitalization. And on the other side, we want to talk about, what are the little details or the important things. It was already started before by Elena, what we really need to do. So it's 2 worlds which we want to try to combine in this discussion, and let's see how this goes. So just part 1, no, very brief, go back, just one part. What do we want to achieve in this presentation? It means ETIP SNET, and the so-called core team. We will write a new implementation plan by the end of this year, which again is there to be used by many stakeholders in Europe as kind of a little guideline, what is needed from the ETIP SNET point of view. So we want to talk with you about where are we, where are the gaps, what do we need, what have we achieved. We will take the projects as very good examples, great, but let's not dig too much also into the projects. Let's take the generic learning from the projects and conclude on what we need more and what we need less in the future. Next slide, please. That's me. Thank you. So I would like to welcome the panelists in this session. So we structure it the way that some of us are actively connected. Let me just go through the list of the people. So I am the moderator. We have Maria Laura in the background. You also see her on the screen. Then I hope we have Svetoslav Mihailov from the European Commission. Can I ask you if you're here and just very brief? Very good. Hello. Then we have, as you heard before, Elena Boskov-Kovac from, she's the representative from Workgroup 4. Please read on the slide where these experts come from in terms of companies, and just make it short. Then it's great to have from the Bridge World Data Management Workgroup Chair here, it's Olivier Genest. And then we have the 6 projects making very short presentations, kind of to kick in and stimulate discussions. This is Antonello Monti from the Platone project. Then we will have Eric Maqueda Moro and Iñaki Angulo from the Platoon project. Similar names, but slightly different contents. Then Valeria Jana Schwanitz from the ERA data project. Then Nayan Conway will talk about the READUP project, Friedrich Kupczok about the Largo project, and at the end, but last, of course, but not least, Tassos Tsisanis about the Synergy project. So we have 6 projects, which we will just start very soon, and we have 3 additional persons which are coming from the EC, from the work group, which deals as key topic with digitalization. And we also invited the Bridge from the Bridge world. That's a big EC, super project, to give us views on where digitalization shall go. Together, let's try to form here some opinions, which we will then try to summarize in the very last session. So, Mary, I give you the word here.
Yes, so I'm the person of the poll today, apparently. So please go again if you're not already in on Slido and you put this code. And to make this interactive, to collect information that can be useful for us during the session and for also our work in the implementation plan, as Rainer said, we will make some questions. The question here will be 3. So if you go on Slido, you can, yeah, and I will go as well. Okay, I don't know if I have problems. Okay, Valentin, 1 second. So maybe I need the technical support here because I wanted to share. So I'm, yeah, I'm going.
Just go on. Yeah, you need to go to session 3. Huh? So that is important. Huh? Parallel session 3.
Yeah. I will share my screen so you can all see what I see. I hope that you see my page. So we can do this, let's say, together. And my colleague will launch the technical support, will launch the questions. So as you see here, we need to go to parallel session 3. Okay, so let's start. Which sector are you from?
So these are introductory questions again, as we had it before, but let's just see who is sitting in this parallel session number 3. That's the idea. So just tick your sector, please.
Yes, I do. You will see my replies, but don't be influenced on this. So. Okay, so we have technology providers at the moment, 29%, universities, 21%, others, 17%, DSO, 12%, research institute, other 12%. We have some TSO, we have some EU institutions. We don't have energy utilities and national funding agency or platform or regulator. So here we have the majority of 30% of technology provider. Let's go to the next question. In which country your company is located? So you can write in English your company, the country. Okay, I see also here a good, let's say, mapping of the European countries. Again, not only the European Union one, but also others, UK, Switzerland, Norway. Good. Thank you very much. Let's go to the next. You can continue to vote. We will keep track of this. Which is the following in your primary research area? As you know, we identified in the roadmap, and now we will go through them, 6 research areas. So please try to check which one is your primary research area that your company, your research institute, university is working in. I'm following digitalization, so I vote digitalization. So, okay, it was normal that the majority was digitalization, but we wanted to check also what are the sectors that are here that can contribute, because as we heard from Mark, digitalization is really cross-cutting. So we are really here in this group, an important role, cross-cutting role to continue and to give our feedback also to the European Commission. Next question, and I think, no, this was the last question. Good. So, Rainer, we have our results, and starting from this as cross-cutting, we can come back to our presentation.
Yes, thank you very much. And yeah, and by the way, I apologize if I move. I'm looking to the other screen. So if I'm moving out of my camera, I'm just looking at my other screen. So this is a bit the trick here. So let's go on. I just want to give a very, well, it's not necessary for this audience, but 99 seconds or something. Let's not forget, when we talk about digitalization in this session number 3, we don't have per se digitalization as goal, but we want to support the European Union energy policy goals, which are threefold: secure, resilient, reliable supply, energy supply, we probably should say, affordable and market-based energy services. So we should look at the monetary aspect. And third, equally important, the protected environment. And you see in the graph details like climate change, pollution reduction, like market integration, prosumers at the center, and systems integration. So let's always talk about digitalization in this context. Next slide, please. So we tried in the last years, as I said, to summarize what ETIP SNET thinks about this implementation of these European Union goals. And we had 3 documents recently, and we are working on updates of it. So in June 18, we wrote this, I think, quite nice vision. It was really a good view from the whole ETIP SNET stakeholdership. Then we published this roadmap, which tries to focus in for the next 10 years. And then we wrote the so-called implementation plan, which should support the R&I needs for the next 4 years. So this, and next slide, please.
Yeah.
So, and just to say, what did we write actually in these documents? We are an insider audience, or many of us are, and just let me say, and this also to so that we can try to group the discussion a little bit in supporting us, the ETIP SNET, and the writers of the next IP in a better IP. In the current IP and roadmap, we defined, and also in the vision, so-called 5 building blocks, and I put up the hypothesis with you that R&I project demonstrations and projects should build up these 5 building blocks. Very briefly, make energy system organization more efficient, collaborate where you need to collaborate. That's building block 1. Building block 2, let's create the right markets. Building block 3, and it was mentioned by Elena before, what do we need to do to have digitalization as enabler for new services? So let's talk about the new services which we need in terms of a use case. Number 4, infrastructure for the integrated energy systems, and building block 5, the efficient energy use. So this is somehow related to use cases. Next one, we have the other dimension, which are the 6 research areas. So we will talk about both. Research area 1, you voted, is consumer, prosumer, and citizen community. Number 2 is markets economics. What do we need? Number 3 is digitalization needs. That's where we concentrate here on. Number 4 is planning for holistic architectures. 5 is flexibility enablers, and 6 is system operation. So this is our current structure, and we want to learn from the projects on how we need to improve them, what we need to change so that we do the right things in terms of digitalization. Next slide, please. So let's now go into our 6 so-called project pitches, each approximately 99 seconds. No, exactly 99 seconds, of course. And let's just go this order. I will not introduce our distinguished speakers here very much. Antonello Monti will talk about the Platone project for 99 seconds. I just ask my 3 non-project presenters, so Svetoslav, Elena, and Olivier, to just, if you have a question, a very short one after each project pitch, ask it. We will just go through them and then we will wrap up in a more generalized way. That's the idea. So I ask to Antonello Monti to please present very briefly the Platone project. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning from my side. My pleasure here to introduce the project Platone, a blockchain-based platform. Maybe next slide directly, please.
Yes.
So here a little bit of the Platone vision. Platone is funded in the call related to unlocking flexibility at DSO level. So obviously this is our key target. And what we want to achieve is a fair customer engagement. So we want to facilitate the participation of customers in every possible market. This has to be done clearly in cooperation with the TSO and at the same time while providing secure operation at the DSO level. As you can see also from the partner, is a project very much focused on DSO activities, and we have 3 major demonstrations in 3 large DSOs, which is Areti in Italy, at where is it? Hedno in Greece and Avacon in Germany. Next slide, please. Quickly on the technology part, so the key element of Platone is the development of a architecture. This architecture is a 2-layer platform concept. We have a way to engage the customer in our system through a blockchain access layer, and then a concept of DSO platform. The DSO platform is an enhancement of any system operation the DSO may have based on microservice platform. We use the results of the previous Sonio project. And then obviously the link to the market and all the flexibility market, both DSO and TSO level. Everything we develop will be open source, and we plan also to make things available in the Linux Foundation Energy, where the Sonio project is continuing as an open source activity. I think that's it to make my 99 seconds.
Thank you very much. I ask, well, I have a question, but do my 3 mentioned panelists have a question, one of them or so? Please just feel free. If not, no problem.
A short question, maybe from my side.
Just say your name very briefly
Elena,
so that people know where you're from.
This is Elena Boshko-Kovac on behalf of Working Group 4 of ETIP SNET. A short question on how have you dealt with the, again, cybersecurity and privacy issues, given that the focus of your project is platform-based?
Well, that's where the blockchain access layer plays the key role, because first of all, this access layer is to facilitate the security element from the DSO perspective, so data are certified through the blockchain access layer. On the other hand, from data management, obviously everything concerning the customer will be managed according to GDPR. We have a clear involvement of the DSOs, particularly the one in Italy that is planning to use this architecture in a broad sense. So they are taking all the correspondent action to make sure that all the data privacy are guaranteed. But from this data security part, the blockchain is the key element in the architecture.
Thank you very much. I propose to just do 1 question or so per presentation, and then let's go to the next one. We can wrap up, of course, in the common discussion after it.
Yeah, you can also write your question in the chat. So, and then we will come back to them.
That is very good. Yes, and please use the chat from Teams. Use the
yes.
Teams chat.
Yeah.
This is the way.
Very
good. Okay, it's disabled anyway. Very good. Let's go to the next project. This is, I think, Platoon. It's presented by Eric Makeda and Inaki Angolo. Please.
Hello, this is Eric. Yeah, I will be presenting the project as technical coordinator of the project from Tecnalia. Well, so Platoon is so-called digital platform and analytic tools for energy. So this was funded as part of the call of DT ICT 11, the topic of big data for energy. So yeah, it's a 3 years project. We're more or less in the middle of the project. The project coordinator is the big energy company ENGIE. So sorry for the noise, but they are doing some works outside, so it's out of my control. And then we, Tecnalia, we are the technical coordinators. As part of the project, we have big ICT companies such as engineering or Indram inside, and also big energy companies such as ENGIE, Giroa Veolia, Pupim, and also some energy consumers such as the municipality of Rome, Poste, and so on. Yes, so next slide, please. Regarding the technical side of the project, just a very brief summary. The main 3 investigation areas of this project is, first of all, the interoperability. So similar to Platone, well, we've defined a federated platform, and for that we've defined a reference architecture based on existing standards such as SGAM, FireWare, and also consider some bits of Gaia-X. And also apart from that, we've defined some common data models and some common open APIs to facilitate the exchange of information between the different partners and the platforms. Once solved that problem of interoperability that has already been defined, the next step is around ensuring all data security, privacy, and sovereignty when sharing the data. So these platforms, these companies keep full control of their data. And in order to do that, we are currently developing some open source components based on the International Data Spaces Association to ensure this data security, privacy, and sovereignty of data exchange. And finally, but not less important, and that's the whole idea of this platform, is we are developing some data analytics tools to extract the value from the data, from this heterogeneous data from different partners, using some different approaches. Some of them is doing analytics on semantic data, and also for these tools, and a bit linked to the interoperability, we've defined a Dockerized specification, so these tools can be easily shipped and implemented into different platforms, different environments such as cloud, on-premise, or even edge devices. And yeah, that's it. I don't know if there are any questions.
Thank you very much. Do Svetslav and Olivier, do you have a question?
Yes, Olivier speaking. You mentioned that you have data from heterogeneous sources and format. And so how do you ensure interoperability at semantic level? Do you rely on ontologies such as Saref?
Yeah, that's correct. So, well, here we've defined these common data models that are based on standard ontologies, as you said. In this case, the different use cases cover from generation, especially renewable in wind turbines, to smart grids and also end of use. So Saref, as you know, is mainly focused on the smart building area. There are some extensions such as Saref for energy, but one of the things that we found is that it wasn't enough to cover all the terms and all the use cases that we had. So we had to use other ones such as SIM, this common information model, SIS, OntoWin, and other ontologies, and we even had to extend some of them, adding new terms. So the Platoon data model basically is based on several. The main ones is the ones that I mentioned, and also extended with some new terms that were needed for these use cases.
Thank you very much. I have many questions, but let's do that later. Let's go to the third project. This is the ERA data project, and it is presented by Valeria Jana Schwanitz. Please, Jana.
Hello, everybody. I would like to bring the ERA data project to your attention, which I lead. We have 5 partners across Europe, but I only name the European Energy Research Alliance here. For one, this is an umbrella organization that gives the project its name. Second, ERA data is actually a community project. Next slide, please. And this means we go where the data is and extend beyond the project consortium. Our objective connects to the big idea that has been mentioned in the plenary already, and that is to share data, to move forward with the digitization in the energy sector, and third, to build one-stop platforms in the form of federated databases. The ERA data project works on solutions for translating the fair and open data principles to energy data, where FAIR stands for findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. And here we directly connect to the question that has been raised just before I started talking. Without these general fair and agreed upon principles, the deployment of data across different levels of granularity, different disciplines, different data formats, and so on is not possible. And data will actually not become the asset that everybody is envisioning. So fair data are first and foremost about machine actionability, metadata, which is data about data, data licensing, data certification, and technologies that support automated workflows for data stewardship and data analysis alike. In ERA data, we try to break down the general fair and open principles to the context of low carbon energy research data. And we do that by organizing community workshops to develop data technologies that are useful to the data users. So we test them in 4 use cases, which are named on the slide. And the data technologies we explore include web standards, semantic web technologies, or multilingual data governance. And finally, we are also discussing what needs to be changed to introduce the right incentives for educating and employing future fair energy data stewards. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Just one question. It's a little bit hard to grasp the impact of what you're doing on the European Union goals here. You know, I mean, do you handle the 10 PV panels or thousands or what? Can you say a little bit about this part of the use case, just to understand the differentiation between digital use cases and energy system use case?
Well, the point here is really to review in these different use cases, for example, what kind of data are being used and what kind of data are needed, and then to find out what are the gaps that exist in order to use the data. And for example, for buildings efficiency, there's the buildings efficiency passport. And so how do we connect research data with data that's available from practical applications, but also like being produced by different groups, by those living in houses, for example, and how can we bring all this together in order to, for example, improve energy efficiency of buildings. So we discuss these issues, and then we try to come up with joint standards on how to harmonize data and enable the FAIR principles, so interoperability and so on and so forth.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep. So, Rainer, I don't know if Stanislav has any question. Otherwise,
yes, exactly. Yes, we can, you know, we rotate. We continue. Yeah. Yeah, please, yes.
Well, I have a question, Valeria. You mentioned like some kind of link with the big idea of working group 4. So I don't know in which extent you know the big idea, but so as said also by Yoko at the beginning, we in the working group 4 in the ETIP SNET and Olivier, Elena, and Antonello are active part of this exercise. We are also identifying use cases. And the use cases were using a digital technology approach. And we identified some kind of customers to, let's say, as a first target. And we highlighted some services for the residential customers. We identified the residential customers. So my question is, these use cases that you are developing are targeting some specific categories of customers, or so we are having residential customers, I was saying, but looking from the consumers, prosumers, and energy community side. So my question was, you are building up these use cases. Did you already highlighted some target, or is it more general for all, let's say?
Actually, in each of the use cases, we also do like a stakeholder analysis to understand who is using the data, and they expand. Like it's very different stakeholders. They include the private sector, private households, but actually also, for example, funding programs, funding agencies that finance, for example, research projects, and they also have an interest in what kind. How the project results, how the data produced in the projects are being communicated, for example. So it's actually a broad range of stakeholders, and they all have different needs, which we need to respond to when we try to break down, and that's how I understood the big idea, try to break down the very general idea of fair principles and make it actually operationalized within the projects, and trying to translate it really to the ground, how to link between different skills, different topics, and how to enable integrated energy system data infrastructures, if you wish.
Okay, thanks. I invite my colleague here, Antonello, Elena, or Olivier, that are involved in this use cases task force, maybe to keep an eye on it, and maybe we can exchange bilaterally. Thanks.
Yes, a very interesting snapshot here. Let's go to the REDAP project, which will be presented by Niall Conway from Spatial Outlook. Yeah, please. Niall.
Hi, Rainer, can you hear me?
Absolutely, great.
Hi, okay, thanks. So, hello everyone, my name is Niall Conway, and I'll introduce the REDAP project, which stands for Regional Energy Demand Analysis Portal. And the project has been supported by the Irish, Swedish and Austrian governments under the ERANET Smart Energy Systems Programme. So next slide, please. So REDAP essentially delivers data insights on the characteristics, distribution and patterns around energy demand in the built environment, including the building stock and transport sectors. So this includes the average energy spend, the average emissions, fuel types, load profiles, and the average consumer profile across within these regions and sub-regions. So this mapping system has been developed for energy planning agencies in Dublin, Gothenburg, and in rural Austria. And it builds on an existing process used by the 4 local governments in Dublin, Ireland. So with REDAP, we aim to help these stakeholders and communities to prospect for decarbonisation opportunities, such as synergies and efficiencies in heat and cooling and transport. So because REDAP is built on established open geospatial standards, such as what's used in Google Maps, there's huge potential for further innovation, interoperability, and replicability. So the key issues which we're experiencing in this project is not really around the technology itself, but it's rather around the data availability and structure across the different regions. But saying that, look, there's lots of opportunities for further data harmonization using the European taxonomy, using the EC Inspire metadata standards, and to translate REDAP data into data backdrop for other energy sectors, including utilities. So to conclude, the energy challenges is really an information challenge. And we believe, sorry, next slide, please. So we believe that REDAP will add an extra layer of decision-making certainty in a fast-changing energy demand landscape. So yeah, thanks for listening, and we welcome any questions, including around collaboration with all types of partners.
Thank you, Niall. Any question from my panel colleagues, perhaps?
Like a question from me, Elena is here. I see that you have identified future integration potential, SIM network. May I ask, in terms of your demonstration activities, how much has this already been taken into account, and how it has been planned or approached? Because it's an ongoing topic and certainly not a new concept.
Okay, so the technology that we're working with specifically is geographic information systems, and that's a certain type of data format. It's used for a lot of planning purposes and, you know, strategic kind of project planning, location of infrastructure. It's interoperable with SCAN data format. There's translators available to translate GIS data into different formats. So We're not focused on any other format at the moment. We're just trying to get our data model right at the moment. But you know, looking into the other types of data formats, it definitely could serve as a kind of a backdrop data set on energy demand, which adds an extra layer of contextual information.
Thank you, Niall. Interesting. I think the audience and we, you know, get idea that the projects are in the same session, but they are doing different things, you know. And I think at the end we may need to find some conclusions about is big data analysis and being more efficient versus architectures, data exchange architectures. That, you know, what are the differences? Where are the keys and so on? Let's go on. Let's go to the next presentation, please. That is the project Largo. It is presented by Friedrich Kutzok from AIT in Austria, please.
Hello, yes, thank you. Let's talk about Largo. So Largo deals with software rollouts. It's a bit different approach here, and we are looking at power system applications. And in this project, we bring together, as you can see with the logo carpet there, quite strong partners from industry and academia. The main focus is actually software for grid automation and energy management, so grid domain and, so to say, energy supply domain. And Largo has developed a virtual platform which allows to test such software rollouts and also connect them with a grid simulation so that you really can study the physical effects of new software. And with this, we are able to validate the correct functioning of controls, but also management applications. And we're looking here especially on software bugs on one side, but also on security issues, some malicious attacks buried maybe in these software packets. Please change to the next slide.
Sorry, go.
If there is a second, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the main outcomes of these projects are actually fourfold. So the first is we have this test environment, which I just mentioned, where you really can virtually do software rollouts and see how they behave. Then we have also talking about use cases very much in this workshop. We have defined a set of misuse cases, so things that we should actually not do, or that can go wrong typically, and that should be taken into consideration when designing a software rollout. And then we came up with a unified deployment process for safe and stable transition from, so to say, an old set of software versions to a new set of software versions, mostly looking at applications that run in the field and that are step-by-step updated in the cyber-physical energy systems. And then, so to say, to accomplish all these things, the fourth result is a set of methods to assess the risk of cyber attacks in these systems, especially during the software update, and also to assess potential impacts of the different risks and to study the effect of countermeasures. So that in a nutshell is Largo, and on the slide you have also a link to our white paper for some more information.
Great, thank you very much, Friedrich. Any spontaneous question from the panelists to Friedrich? Then let me just jump in here. I'm wondering, so you intend to test any type of smart grid application from any type of third party. How do you manage that? I mean, we don't even manage to exchange data between two applications. Well, I exaggerate, of course, here, you know, but we intend to do that. I think it's great that we want quality in the smart grid applications world. That's what you want to contribute to. What are the thoughts here? Is it a starting project at phase alpha of 10? Where are you here? What is your feeling?
Yeah, I think it's all about use cases. If you look at the general question of deploying software, we are really something like an alpha project. We also found out in the trade of the project that we are many of these issues with the complexity of software will maybe hit us in something like 5 years, but not today. But for the use cases we're looking on, which is mostly a voltage control use case on the grid side, and an update of energy management systems, including also electric mobility, flexibility. For these things, we are actually today, and these are really critical issues that are typically overseen, or let's say they're not overseen, but every operator tries to solve the problem for him or herself. And we try to bring some general perspective into this and some good best practices.
So just one more, just the main user of this use case output is the operator here, huh? For this
Exactly,
project.
yeah.
It's main. Yeah. It's not the end user, or so it's the operator, huh? The grid operator. Huh?
Indeed, yeah. But in the end, we also have a networked system of end user software and operator software. If you think about private flexibility provision, for example, these things to come together in this field.
Okay, more questions from anybody in the panel? We can later talk about it, of course.
A brief one, maybe, just Elena is here again. I'm quite interested in the misuse cases, as you have mentioned them. I think it's something we can take for the end of the panel to discuss how to select use cases which are ambitious enough in order to really develop true innovation, rather than just select safe test beds to implement these new technologies, given the prerequisites and availability and protection and privacy of the data. So quite interested to see which ones you have identified, and quite interested to see how many of those are oriented towards DSOs versus directly towards customers towards the end of the panel.
Okay, let's see if we find time to have a look. Yeah, I would be happy.
Thanks. Now let's go to the sixth project, which is the Synergy project. It is presented by Tassos Tsitsanis from Suite 5, Data Intelligence Solutions Corporation.
Okay. Thank you, Rainer. Can you hear me well, first of all? Just
very well, we see you, yeah.
Okay, great. So thanks for the invitation. It was difficult to pronounce my surname, but I think that you will get used to it. Okay, I will talk briefly about the Synergy project, which is a big data for energy project funded under the same topic as the Platoon project that was presented before. It is a 12 million project. It involves 24 partners. It's funded under Horizon 2020. And right now we are in month 16 of the project. So we are starting, we are at the phase actually of releasing our first results in terms of software, in terms of solutions, let's say, that will be deployed in our demonstration cases. Just a few words about our motivation actually behind the project. And the main objective, which is to effectively address the operational complexity that is introduced across the different edges of the energy system, and is created by the evolving decentralization of the system, not only in terms of assets, but also and mainly actually in terms of data generation. And to do so, we are focusing mainly on the integration of the electricity data value chain in order to enable the trusted and secure sharing of data that are currently residing in silos between the different electricity domain and value chain stakeholders, in order for them to be accessible, to be easily processable, actually, and be used for further analysis in order to allow different stakeholders to reach out to data coming from other data providers or data owners, and in this sense increase their outreach and perform some analytics and introduce this analytics actually in their operations in order to optimize them in an evidence-based way. So if we can move to the next slide, to do so, we are introducing a reference big data architecture and an energy data space, a reference energy data space also implementation that is based in 4 main service bundles. These are building blocks, let's say, towards the creation of this energy data space, starting from the data collection, where we have the opportunity and we give the possibility to the different users to upload their data in whatever format it might be available, either data in rest or data in motion, but also real-time data through different architectures and methods, and transform this data and improve their quality in order to be used in the 3rd service bundle, as you see here, that is the analytics toolkit and the marketplace that we offer, which introduces some data sharing mechanisms together with some data analytics tools and data analytic platform, actually, in order to allow data analysts to run their analytics, to create the pipelines of algorithms and execute actually their analytics, and subsequently be able to share not only the data, but also the results of their analysis, the results of specific analytics that are executed, let's say, on the cloud or on on-premise environments. This is a detail that we can discuss further in the next moments, on the basis of smart contracts that are recorded in a blockchain infrastructure. We definitely have our data security services that have to do with data access control, where each data owner defines the exact rules and the exact policies for external stakeholders, for other stakeholders to have access on the data that they produce. Data anonymization methods are applied as well in order to comply with privacy requirements, and security of data, let's say, based on encryption methods, so as to enhance confidence and trust of stakeholders in our platform. So this was, in a nutshell, actually what we try to do. What we need to keep as a conclusion, actually, is that we are moving towards what Mark van Stiphout mentioned before. We are trying to make data coming from different sources and coming from the edge of the system accessible, and being able, let's say, to shared and processed, let's say, by other stakeholders, in order to allow a variety of services, a variety of innovative solutions, let's say, to penetrate the market on the basis of this information, of this distributed information.
This was another slide to add the tasks.
Okay. This is just yeah. This is just some hints about how we have worked. Let's say how we have approached the interoperability aspect in our project, since we are integrating different technologies, different concepts, and actually we have worked on the interoperability, on the semantic interoperability in building our common information model, utilizing different standards and integrating concepts from different standards. And we have different methods also for the data owners in order to map their data structures in our common information model. And definitely we are addressing also the metadata interoperability by utilizing the respective some common respective standards on the metadata side. And as I said before, we are able to handle different data formats and different protocols, let's say, as part of our solution, in order to facilitate all this data sharing and creation, let's say, of this data ecosystem around energy data.
Thank you very much, Tassos. There is, I think, a remark here, yeah, or a question. Yes.
Two. One is from Vladimir Alexiev, but I don't know, I cannot unblock you, so I don't know if you can unmute yourself and speak, or I will ask. Okay, good. Please.
Hello. Hi. Yes, I unmuted myself, but then something muted me back. Hopefully now it will work. Hi,
yeah.
I'm from Sofia, Bulgaria, and I work in a semantic technologies company called Ontext. And I have two questions basically for everyone. The first is about the role of SIEM. And I think the last question, the slide that we're seeing right now, underlies that the SIEM should have a very big role in any sort of data exchange in the electricity and even the wider energy domain, because it pretty much covers all operations of the energy enterprise, including markets and so on and so forth. And so it's the basis of end-to-end common grid model and so on. At the same time, I think there is a lot of improvement that is needed in TIM, because it doesn't at present subscribe to linked data principles. It's pretty much used as a data exchange standard. Statnet is our client, and they're shuttling back and forth the structural model of Norway, which is an 850 megabyte RDF XML. And that's crazy, because there is the EIC, Energy Identification Code, for important things like stakeholders, large-scale infrastructure, power stations, you name it, there probably is an ID for it. So I think it's very interesting to think how we can have distributed data that stays at some permanent URLs, rather than having to always shuttle data back and forth. And what is your thinking on this?
That is very interesting. Thanks very much for that question. You know what? Let's just think how we want to go through the next half hour, to this half hour, in asking questions, and what types of questions we want to dig. The SIM world is absolutely, I fully agree, a word I want to talk about, but this is more digging into digitalization issues, and we will do that. But before that, can I propose, just propose something? Let's finish right now views on the use cases and the users, and the less technological discussions and insights, but more what digital use cases and users do we need to push? Can we concentrate 5 more minutes or so, or whatever you need, and in terms of opinions on that, and then let's dig into the. I have prepared 2 or 3 issues here, which dig into the individual parts of digitalization technologies, and SIM and SCAM, and all these should be very briefly discussed in this half hour, if I can propose.
Completely agreed. I have a second non-technical question, and there was another raised hand by Eric Moro.
Yes.
So should we take all the questions first?
Let's do that. Let's take the questions, and then the panel can answer first in relation to use cases, and then let's dig into the digitalization technology questions.
My second question is about Horizon Europe and Digital Europe and the concept of European data spaces and consortium building in that area. Synergy has shown here they have the elements of an energy data space, but many other people are working on this. For example, in the Interreg project, there are several groups developing reference architectures for European data spaces in various domains. The IDSA was mentioned, Gaia X was mentioned, and I have marked several calls in Horizon 20 Europe that deal with this, and there will be several more in Digital Europe, this new, completely different, completely new instrument. So my question is, how do you guys plan to not repeat work, to form consortia, to rationalize, and to get into these goals?
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Maybe this is a question more for the Commission, since we have them here. Maybe they can give us some hints about this, since you mentioned some programs that will be directly managed by the Commission. Svev, if you can give us some of your feedback, thought about this. And you mentioned Digital Europe, but then also other initiatives, Interreg, so more national-wise, Gaia X, that is something that is now led by French and German, for example, at the moment, but they are developing use cases in energy and digitalization. So what is your thought about this at this point?
Yeah, so indeed, the data spaces are stemming, the common European data spaces, this new notion is stemming from the data strategy of the Commission, which comes from MyDigit and from DigiConnect. And indeed, there are a number of them that were mentioned already in this strategy that we published. And some of them, as mentioned, will be already addressed at this stage in the first work program within the Digital Europe program, indeed. And they're more towards, although we will be defining within the, actually the different data spaces within it will be dealt with a different depth of implementation, but really the digital program is about deployment and building capacity, so implementation. So it should go further and beyond research that was mentioned here. But of course, how this will, of course, the consortium that will be working has to see how they can leverage and all this work. And I was having exactly the same questions in my head as Vladimir was speaking. But before Vladimir spoke, but when I was listening to the speakers, I had the same questions. But we tried to define the foreseen projects to deal with this implementation, first defining what the data space is, the governance, the interoperability, the infrastructure that will be built, etc. And then how do we make it work and deploy it? Now, when we talk about energy, energy is definitely one of the spaces. It will be coming without committing at this stage because the second work program is still not even started, so we haven't started even writing it, but normally it should be coming within the digital program in the second work program. Having said that, then we talked about Horizon Europe. So there is a call. It was mentioned that there are several places where it appears there is a specific call that is to define the European energy data space within Horizon Europe to start this work already, which is in the first work program. And so there it will start and then being continued with the Digital Europe program. Of course, we have tried to put the call text as such is not prepared. We have the work program. We still have to make the detailed call text. Of course, we'll make sure that as much as possible, we'll try to influence the consortium that will take this project to use up all the useful information. But then again, there will be cases when they're competing, probably architectures. From what we saw again, reference architecture in several of these projects, etc. So they'll have to make their decisions on something or try to find something again, a midpoint among this. Another thing that I was thinking, also looking at this, is most of the time these projects are focusing on the energy source of it. But of course, they have to keep in mind that there are also other areas which are dealing with similar, other sectors which are dealing with similar problematic, like mobility, agriculture, health, etc., etc. And whatever is developed here as a data space, etc., should be interworkable with the other data spaces, with the other data from the other sectors. And another example, if you look at again, one of the data spaces that is within the first work program of the Digital program is the Green Deal data space, and most particularly the communities, smart communities data space. And it is going to work with energy, mobility, and environmental data. So this cannot be connected, the energy data space cannot be disconnected of this kind of data space, for example. So when developing this, you have to think, I mean, it was said, for example, okay, SAREC was not because of the wind power, etc. Well, SAREC is the ontology of the IoT. So the digital body there, ETSI, has developed from there one end-to-end, which is the IoT, the Internet of Things, global initiative of all the major countries, regions, and standards organizations within the digital. So it will be applied in the other areas, and we have tested it in many of these projects. So if you go into a SIM or something that is energy related, fair enough, but then somebody at hyperscale or Google or whatever will come and say, okay, listen, with our system that is more digital based, we can connect with everything else. It's not only your smart grid, but we can link it in a smart way with your health, for example, because then the energy flows within your home will show us that you're suffering from this, or I don't know. So in this respect, the energy will lose out, because me as a customer, now when we introduce GDPR, I accepted all the conditions of Google immediately, because they help me so much with all their different services and tools that I didn't even hesitate. And the same will happen there. If energy stays aside from all the other sectors, it's a bit doomed. But I described to you the different work programs, how we are planning to address it. The code texts for the energy data space are not written as such. It's only the work program with the main points. So we'll see how we can make sure that we achieve as good of a result as possible.
Thank you very much. Very important statement, which I really want to hang in here also with the other panelists. Can you go to the next slide? As far as I understand, yeah, next one, please.
Yeah, there was Eric a question. Maybe Eric, you can write in the chat and if we have time, otherwise we will reply offline.
Okay, maybe it fits. I'm very sorry. This is very short in time. I want to have more opinions and views on this use case in terms of digitalization. This picture you don't see a lot, but in the middle you have the system of energy systems. It talks about electricity, about heat, and about gas. And it talks about the importance of grids and the importance of storage. And on the upper part you have all the types of generators, and on the lower part you have all the types of energy consumers. It's a dangerous term, energy consumer, but it's the final use of energy. And on the right-hand side, you see, we had the market, we had communication, and at the bottom, we had digital infrastructure. So when I want to find out what does that mean, use cases of digitalization. And when I hear the Svetoslav talk about, well, it's already happening on a generic level in non-energy data spaces, of course, including the energy. The question is what Elena said: how should we select use cases to learn most for the ETIP SNET purposes? Can you help me or us or ETIP SNET a little bit and give you a view? What are then the use cases? Shall we wait until the other programs are having solved the problem of architectures and data exchange and security? I'm sure we can't wait. So also a question is, what is special to the energy data space and energy world in terms of digitalization? Do you understand, where are the boundaries of the world of use cases for digitalization in the energy systems integration area? Who wants to try on that? Friedrich, yes, please. Microphone, please. Your microphone. Yeah.
Thank you. I think that the specialty is really bringing together different stakeholders in the scene and to really streamline the interaction of them. And this is a data question, of course, but it's also a use case question, and these are strongly interconnected.
So which stakeholders are the most important ones? Just to be concrete, I know, well, I have an idea,
sure,
but let's just say it.
It's a general thing. It's the operators of infrastructure, the operators of generation and load. This could be the private end user, but could also be some company. It's the aggregators, and it's everyone else who provides services in this context.
Hi, Rainer.
Yeah, please go on. Yeah.
Hi, Rainer. Niall Conway here. I just, if I was to choose one stakeholder that would be most important at this stage, it would be the planning focus, and planners generally have a kind of holistic view of, the environmental, social, the energy, the economic aspects, and that kind of that's where the digitalization will really help. Is by the concept of a digital twin, for example, has it's being used within the planning world, but really where that argument needs to move is a digital twin of specific areas, such as looking at energy demand, energy supply, and building it up from that.
Great, thank you. Yeah, let's just collect here a little bit views. Yeah, there are more. Mary, can you help me? Who was first with hands up here or so?
Yes, just 1 second, because here, well, I don't have the right order. We go with the name that that is shown in the chat. Antonello, please. No, before we go to Valeria. We go to Valeria. We do gender, but we go to Valeria.
Okay. Well, I immediately wanted to say there are no boundaries. I mean, energy is relevant for everything, basically, and there is no way to separate the energy system from the other systems which it is interconnected with, like health was mentioned, agriculture, and so on and so forth. So basically, there are no boundaries. And when you think now in terms of use cases, what would be really important is that you basically can move easily between information and data available in one field at a certain granularity about a certain topic, and you can connect and link this data with data available from a totally different field, different level of granularity again, and you can basically move also to more aggregated levels, and this seamless. And that is really what the digitalization should be focusing on, I think, and that is the interoperability between different types of data, different scales of data, different formats of data. So also including, for example, now most of us think, when they think about data, about numbers. We have also seen somewhere mentioning pictures, like GIS systems and so on, but we should also not forget, for example, that digitization means to report in different ways, digital reporting, digital compliance. So also translating text-based document legislation, for example, into interoperable data format, so that one could, in a company, in an institute, in the planner's office, establish automated workflows that also enable the direct, let's say, harvesting of data from various different types and forms of data, including also policy documents, for example.
Thank you very much. Well, we have still 10 minutes, but let's go on. Yeah, I think it's a very interesting. Let's focus on that. That's good. Yeah. Who else?
Antonello.
Yeah, just want to second just what it was previously said. Yeah, I think the main point of digitalization is to remove borders. So we shouldn't talk about borders, but that's the challenge, because if we were, until all the presentation you heard today, we're discussing about the challenge we have of interoperability within energy, but the Commission is asking to go well beyond and build an interoperability that is across sector. And this is challenging because we have basically in many areas zero experience, so that's where the challenge and the cooperation between the sector is not there, so the stakeholders don't talk to each other. But that means that at the end, the point of connection of everything is the customer, and that should be the focus, because he is the guy that will link energy and health, energy and whatever, because those new business cases will emerge on this cross-sectorial aspect, and they will cross each other exactly at the customer level. And that brings also all the other related challenge that was the question to be directly privacy and security and everything, but it's totally the view of a system that is customer-driven, customer-centric.
Well, very good, very interesting statement. Thanks, Vladimir. Also.
Yeah, we have Ludovic, please.
Okay, please. Microphone.
The microphone, yes, we don't hear you. Try to speak.
Ludwig.
Is it Lukovic? Mr. Lukovic?
Lukovic, sorry.
Lukovic, sorry, you didn't understand that was you.
No problem, thank you. I'm Slobodan Lukovic from University of Lugano. I just would like to say a few comments. First of all, from our experience, and we're working quite a lot with companies like technology providers, Siemens and local DSOs here in Switzerland, but also in Austria, I see the major, I would say, sometimes obstacle and sometimes a driver in sense of digitalization, exactly in DSOs. DSOs are those that are sometimes very interested in having some particular implementation of whatever digitalization use case, and vice versa. Sometimes they're very reluctant and there is a resistance on that. So between technology providers and academia and all the kind of research that is proposed and solutions that are proposed and final customer, there is always DSO. And I think that we have to find a right way to approach DSOs with a set of clear benefits for them, because these guys won't move unless they see clear benefits. It's the same for end clients, but finally it's DSO that will reach them and explain them how they can benefit from joining some whatever concept we are developing. We had really many nice concepts developed, and we've seen in practice that once we want to make a kind of pilot and demonstration of that, we got certain problems. Whether it's privacy, many times it's just privacy, because even though we completely anonymize data, there is a kind of rule that is still not completely clear, that final end user has to approve utilization of his of information on his consumption, even though it's completely anonymized. That's one of the things that I noticed, and I would like to point out to the role and importance of DSOs. Another thing is I've seen a lot of projects like ERA data and Platon and so on that are dealing with data. And I would like to propose that we have at least some kind of collaboration or mutual platform in which we can exchange this data, because data are precious for us. We are dealing with data analysis, and we know how difficult it is to get data, and we know how much it's precious to exchange not only knowledge, not only transfer knowledge among different projects, but also to have a kind of common repository of the data that we are all dealing with. That's my suggestion to the other projects. Yeah, we are active in a few ERANET projects, for instance, so that these kind of topics, I'm afraid, are discussed in many different frameworks, and we always have quite similar questions and quite similar problems. But I think there should be one common roof, and ETIP SNET has a very nice possibility to be a common roof also for all kinds of projects, not only bridge. That's my suggestion for ERANET.
Thank you very much. Now I have to make a little stop here, and I want just to, and I know there are many more remarks here. How many are there, Mary?
Yeah, no. I just want to tell, there are 4 hands high, but we have 10 minutes more, so we can stay a bit, so we can use 14 minutes still.
Okay, so because at the end, I want to ask one question to this one question, which comes in one of the later slides, Mary, to the audience, and just to have the impression of digging deep. Huh? But let's, so we need 5 minutes for that, huh? Just for that alone. So let's work till 5 past. Let's take the, the remarks from the 4 hands up, please.
Yeah, so please really try to do in 20 seconds the question, the remarks, so we are in time. Eric.
Yep, so I'll try to be quick. So I think I agree with what they say. I think I will go a bit more general, and instead of focusing end users, DSOs, in the end, what we need, the key partner is the data owners. Everyone is saying data is the new oil, but I have the impression, and I think it's a shared impression, that we are not getting the most of it due to various reasons. Sometimes you need data from different actors to actually get value. Some cases there might be lack of skills, so we need to get involved them. And depending on the actual use case, it can be end users, DSO, even some energy generation operators. And obviously this won't come for free. First of all, we need to show them that they will get something in return for their data, something that adds value. And second of all, we need to show them, we need to provide them trust. So when they share the data, they keep full control of their data, and to ensure that everything we are doing is in line with the GDPR and all these different policies that are specified at European level in the EU data strategy. I think that's the key thing.
Thanks very much. Very good contribution. Yeah, very interesting. Please,
Vladimir.
next one.
Vladimir. Oh, no, maybe it's not here anymore.
No, I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm here.
okay, please.
You asked what is special about the energy data spaces. I think they have some characteristics that make them quite special compared to the others. Because first of all, energy data is rather complex. The TIM and other similar standards prove that. And secondly, there is legislation. There are the European network codes, the still being forged legislation about the single energy market. And of course, it will be expanded to cover more flexibility, distributed resources. Thirdly, Europe seems to be firmly on the way of digitizing a lot of energy data because it believes that digitization is the key towards the Green Deal and the goals for 2050. Fourth, we are really at the beginning of handling of these data. Now, questions of privacy and data governance and sovereignty and so on, hopefully will be handled by the more general data spaces project and associations like IDSA and GaiaX and so on. But here we're not talking about protecting one file, ensuring the sovereignty of one file. Data will be a lot more granular because TIM works at a very detailed level, at the level of triples, if you think of semantic representation, and different players in this data ecosystem will need different granularities of data. For the TSOs and DSOs, it's very detailed forecast models, network reliability information, and whatever. For building energy efficiency, it's a completely different view. So we'll have kind of data refinement or data repurposing within this thing in the middle. And finally, the use cases, I completely agree with Seth. Energy data is very interdisciplinary by nature. It touches upon energy efficiency during construction, building energy efficiency in agriculture, clean energy production. It touches every aspect of our lives. And at the same time, this data ecosystem is very immature. If you compare it to healthcare or life science data spaces, they're way ahead because the big pharma companies are building up huge, data warehouses of genomic data, illnesses, path interactions, ICD classifications, you name it, they have it. And in energy, we just have the standards mostly, and some data being shuttled back and forth, but not yet the discipline of how to handle a distributed global ecosystem of energy data in a smart way. Thanks.
Thank you. I don't know if you, Svev, you want to reply to this. That was also linked to your comments, if in few words.
Who do you refer to, Mary?
To Svev, for the comment about the, let's say, use of these data exchange models, architecture, also for other sectors. This is a very interesting discussion. Yeah. To avoid to go in silo, because otherwise the risk is this. We don't see.
I definitely said that, yeah, also that the different sectors, different energy spaces should be talking to each other. I'm not sure, I mean, in order to make a statement that the energy data is more complex to the others, even though now I'm working on the energy, I focus more on energy than other things, but to say this, you need to be really familiar with all the other data spaces and data, and to have hard facts. And I don't think the group here has necessarily these hard facts, because somebody will come in, and mobility also is dealing with everything around us. Everything, a bird that is flying through the road has an impact on the car, so the car should react in a certain way. I don't know, the availability in the grid also has impact on mobility. Is it energy or mobility data? You don't know. Somebody is falling asleep on the steering wheel. This is health related, but it impacts the mobility. So I don't think that one can say this is the most specific place. Now, if we are talking about cross-cutting activities, we are aware of this, and the digital program where we have, in the first instance, the first work program, I don't remember how many, 8 data spaces or something. We have several cross-cutting topics, which will be defining principles for all of them, architectures for all of them, type of governance for all of them. there will be specificities, but the different data spaces are expected to be following these common principles that will be defined in these cross-cutting projects.
Maybe a good idea in the future, I throw this idea there, Svet, to you. Probably could be useful to have, like, I don't know, some session dedicated to this cross-cutting discussion and making all the sectors know each other a bit better, so they don't go in silo, but they understand the value of also and the needs also of the other sectors. This can be an idea, but for the future, just to discuss bilaterally if interesting for you. Then really quick, 2 minutes, Olivier, Antonios, and I saw before Elena, but I don't know if Elena, you want to still intervene. Really
if we have time.
Yeah, and then we go to the last round of maybe Paul Reiner.
If we still need it, let's see. I think it's very. Let's not. Let's go on here. Yeah.
Please, Olivier.
Yes, so regarding cross-sector interoperability, I wanted to mention that in Bridge last year, we worked on what we call this EU data exchange reference architecture that focuses on describing what are the items that are necessary to allow cross-sector data exchange. And in particular, we had direct collaboration with the ICT for Water initiative, which is gathering stakeholders from the water ecosystem. And also, we already aligned with them, and in the future we'll also do the same with mobility and or manufacturing domain. So this is a good opportunity, and we are really willing to identify initiatives that will allow to collaborate together on this cross-sector interoperability. And also we have the initiative of this OpenDI project, which is the Horizon 2020 support action that gather all these IoT large-scale pilot. So it's managed by DG Connect. And in this project, we are gathering project from energy domain, but also agriculture, manufacturing, and healthcare, trying to find common approaches for digitalization, reference architecture, and data exchange. So these are two initiatives and places where we can work more and more on this cross-sector interoperability.
Thank you, Olivia, for this comment. And then the last raise hand, and then we go to Elena Antonios, please.
Thank you very much. So a short comment from my side and also a question to Tassos. We have seen very interesting projects, and it's very nice to see that there are many activities around AI and data analytics right now in energy. One of the main challenges will be how to apply the developed models on the edge. And we have actually the digital energy resources that come along with digital data sources, and we have with distributed data sources, and we have to go more to think about more decentralized approaches and go away of very central cloud solutions. We are also working on federated analytics approaches, and we are interested in the marketplace that the Synergy project is developing. So that's a question to Tassos. How is the marketplace working, and what are your ideas? How can we contribute? Are there any opportunities for collaboration? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adoni. Very quickly, actually, the marketplace will be available, let's say, when the beta release of the platform is launched. Then we expect this to be happening, let's say, in the next couple of months. Actually, our plan, our milestone is to have this beta release launched at the end of June. So from this point on, we will be inviting different stakeholders. So I'm really happy that you are interested, let's say, in contributing to our effort. We will be inviting different stakeholders, both at the frame of open calls, but also independently, in order to start working and testing and experimenting with our platform, because you talked about AI, you talked about analytics, you talked about edge deployments. So we will have the opportunity to discuss more on this, about our on-premise runners and how it can, let's say, enable, let's say, following a Dockerized approach, actually, the running of analytics at the edge in gateways or whatever. We do have some specific use cases also addressed in our project, but definitely this is something that we need to further elaborate. And actually, this will be a great opportunity because what you need to have in mind is that the marketplace will not be just a marketplace for data or a marketplace for acquiring results of analytics, but you will do have the opportunity to access our platform, to build your own pipelines of algorithms. Actually, it will be an analytics toolkit. We will have open libraries, and we will have also, we will give the ability to data scientists to work with TensorFlow, Pandas, Keras, whatever, some at least popular tools in order to allow you, let's say, to work on analytics and build your pipelines of algorithms. And these algorithms, actually, and this is the important thing about the marketplace, these algorithms will be also a tradable commodity. So whoever wants to use these algorithms will also have the opportunity to somehow remunerate the owner of the algorithm, apart from the owners of the data, in order to make sure that we also preserve some IP, let's say, over our platform, over the developments of our platform.
Thanks, Tatos. We have 1 minute, Rainer. You choose what to do.
No, let's. I think it's and after that minute we go immediately in the other meeting, huh?
Yes. So
okay, fine. Well, you know what? Let's. I think some of the panel people and in the audience have got it. You know, they already started digging a little bit, and without any slides, that's much better. So for me, I made notes. I thank you all very, very much for your contributions. I think for me, I learned. Also from what the European Commission said, but I think we all agree it's not so clear who should do what, but this specialty and generality discussion was very interesting for me. And of course, also, you know, just the cases, where are the projects, what are they doing, how very concrete. For me, fine. I will try to summarize it later on. And if you don't agree, you will get minutes later, you know, and we can still, you know, shape things later. So for that, for me, I think we can conclude. Do you, Mary, want to say a few concluding words here for this great session?
Well, no, for me it was really full of input, and this will be for us for discussing how to follow up the discussion maybe in the next workshops. So, and maybe to continue this discussion.
Exactly.
Now we know on what to focus, and also keep in mind that we are building up these workshops exercise for also feeding our implementation plan. So some of our questions were more targeted to the implementation plan, functionality, and so on. But maybe we started again the discussion with external stakeholders from ETIP SNET. So we can come back to you also via email to also reply maybe to questionnaire, to consultations that could help us to feed our documents with all the contribution of the stakeholders. But yeah, so now we need to go to the other session. I would ask you to please, I don't know if the link to the plenary session was published, probably no, but you have it in your access card. Ah, voila. Is here, so we can click on the chat.
Very good.
And I saw also that there were interesting discussion in the chat, so we will keep track on them and put in the proceedings.
Yeah, and very last word, thank you very much. Thank all the project presenters. This is great. We encourage other projects which have listened to submit their registrations, you know, potentially for the next 7 regional workshops. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much. See you
Thank
in
you.
one.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.